Hello again and welcome to The Luxury Choice, a B2B technical sales and business podcast brought to you by the training team of George James Limited. My name is Steve Vaughan. I'm a member of the training team here and I'm also the host and the producer of this podcast. And today's topic is demonstrations. And I don't mean the things where people go on the streets with placards and all those kind of things. I'm talking about product demonstrations, or demo, I think is what we're going to use today as shorthand. And I'm joined today with two of my colleagues again, Pru Layton and Christian Walter. So, Christian, how are you feeling today? How are things?
I am great. Never boring.
Good.
Always lots of activity.
Good.
And of course, always looking forward to being in that podcast.
Great to have you here. Yeah. And Pru, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to and going off to. I don't know when you're going to be listening to this, but there's currently a Rugby World Cup going on, and I'm going to a quarter-final, so I'm quite excited.
By the time this one goes live, it might be all over.
Wonderful.
We might be celebrating, Pru. You might be celebrating the England win, or commiserating. Who knows? Yeah. It's always that weird thing when you record a show a couple of weeks before we go live. We don't know what could have happened in the world in that period of time, but hopefully we're all sitting here and doing our jobs normally, and nothing dramatic in the world has happened in that period of time. But yes,
well, I think as they famously say on the television, you're watching it on Dave.
On Dave. So if you're not in the UK, Dave is a TV station that shows old programs, should we say, or repeats, or reruns, as they would say in America. Anyway, we digress wildly. So demonstrations or demos, I guess all of us on this podcast have all sold equipment most of the time in our careers, I think it's fair to say. So no doubt we've all been involved in product demonstrations and given product demonstrations. But the topic today of the show is why the demonstration isn't the sale. So Christian, when that topic came out as part of our plannings for the series, we came up with that as a topic. What did that mean to you when we came up with that one?
Yes, it meant quite a lot, because my career started as an applications chemist.
So you got the scars then.
I got involved quite a bit with demos.
You would do, yes, yeah.
And that was maybe my first interaction with customers and the selling process, because salespeople would reach out to me and say, hey, can you help me with that demo? And of course I did, and I always enjoyed. But I fully agree, even if you do a perfect demo and the customer is mightily impressed and everything goes swimmingly, you may not end up with the order. And I think that is really important to understand.
Okay. So it's part of the process. It's not the process, in other words. Okay. Pru, what were your thoughts when we first came up with this as a title?
Things really. I think just adding on to what Christian said, you can do the perfect demo and you can get the perfect data and you can have all the right people there. But if you do it at the wrong time, it's not the sale.
Yeah, no, completely. Yeah.
It's not just about performing a fabulous demo where you're well prepared, but it's doing it at the right time. It's at the right time of the sales process. And I guess that leads into what I thought about. Demonstration can be part of your sales process.
Okay.
And it can be a classic one where we go to showing an instrument or even a software demo, to be honest. That's a similar sort of process. But the demonstration is the proof bit for me of any good sales process, where we have understood what the customers require. We've kind of shaped our solution, made a proposal to them about this is what we think fits really well. They've accepted that we understand what they want and we've got everything.
Right. Yeah, good point.
We think we know because we've done our best, but we need to get that acceptance side that they do accept this is a great solution for their business need or whatever. And the demo part of it is then the proof that we can deliver and do what our proposal said. Okay. So I think it can be more than just an instrument or a software demo. There's other ways of demonstrating that we really can deliver against what we understand and the customers accepted that they need.
So it's a proof of concept, proof of capability, proof of understanding. It's proof generally, yeah.
A proof thing, yeah.
Yeah. I saw you nodding, Christian, yeah?
Yeah, I think it's really important. So Pru is talking about software demos. I'm very skeptical whether there has ever been a good software demo in the world. Typically when people demonstrate software, live demo of software, it never works. It's always confusing and the audience switches off very, very quickly. So I would personally be very, very careful at demonstrating software, only maybe few clicks, very few things, very short, 30 seconds, that's it. On the other hand, of course, when we demonstrate an analytical instrument or a synthesizer or a robot or something a bit more sophisticated, maybe we want to show what we have because it helps us to point out the USPs, point out the relevant strengths of our product for this particular application. But you have to be very, very careful not to talk about stuff that's completely irrelevant for this particular customer, or because you're technically so excited about your product, you end up speaking 20 minutes about the interfacing connectors it has and the USB-C and A and RS and auxiliary input and output, and the customers long switched off. So I believe it's an art. To do a good demo is an art, and it has a lot to do with observing your customer and asking questions and checking in to see whether they are still engaged or not.
Some great points there. Yeah, great points. I was tempted to say I stopped listening for them, wish you were talking about product features, Christian, but I thought that would be a bit too a bit too obvious. So let's wind it all back then. So first of all, do we have to do a demonstration? Is it a must? Is it like a thou shalt do a product demonstration? You're both shaking your heads. Why?
I've been involved in it in businesses myself where we always thought, because we had some kind of technical edge, that we had to drag the customer screaming and kicking into a demo because that's how we'd win the sale. And we're saying, no, is the demo the sale? No, it's not the sale. It should be demo. It's part of and I think if we understand it's a stage in the selling process, then we'll do it in the right way at the right time. So yeah, we don't always have to do a demo. And in fact, if you have a complex piece of instrumentation or you're trying to show software, because you do have to show software if that's what you've got to sell, then it's important that we have an opportunity to do that. But it's the most costly thing that you do. We've all been involved where we've had some pretty complex pieces of instrumentation. And the demonstration might be half a day, it might be a bit longer, but the preparation is always considerably more. Always involves more than one person in your organization. So the cost of doing demos is really high. Yeah. And, so it's not something that we should offer up to everybody because we will quickly run out of resource in the organization if we do that.
And stretch and stress the people who are doing the demonstrations because they're being pulled every which way as well. So let's talk about something that you mentioned. Christian, when do we do a demonstration then in the sales process?
So typically it's like an autopilot. We have an initial discussion. We establish what the customer needs. We establish which is the right solution, which is the right instrument. We qualify the opportunity, establish that there is budget in the ballpark of our costs and so on. And then almost automatically we assume that the next step has to be a demo. And we even, I think we walk out very happy from that initial call if we have a demo scheduled into our diary. But maybe the question should be, what would you need, dear customer, to move this sale forward? What would you need from us? And then don't suggest a demo, just pause and wait. And maybe the customer will say, I need a presentation from you to my management team. Or maybe they need more literature, or maybe they would like you to meet their boss. Maybe that's more constructive than to do a demo to people that are already convinced.
Yeah, good point. So it's back to the topic we mentioned in our previous podcast as well, and that is the importance of qualification and qualifying, the budget, the time, who's involved, all those kind of things. Would we ever do a demonstration for somebody that hasn't got any money? You're saying yes, Pru. Yeah, go on.
Two kinds of demos, really, I think.
Okay.
One is around that part of the sales process when we're actively working towards a close and a win.
Okay.
And I believe the demonstration, whatever form it takes, is the convincer, if you like.
Yeah.
So the customer is convinced that we can deliver something that meets their requirements. I think you can also do a demo in terms of lead generation prospecting.
Okay, tell me more.
One of the ways that you can demonstrate capability, particularly if you have something that is not well known or new to market or a different way of doing things. You can use demonstrations to motivate and excite people about capabilities, which they may then go away and actually start to look at getting money for it. So I think that demonstrations sit in two places for me in terms of managing sales process, but be very clear about what you're doing. There's no point demoing something when somebody on a material that the customer has when they've got no money. So, if we're going to do proof of concept or capability or whatever it is, we do it on something that we understand very well and we know is going to wow them.
Yeah.
We don't open it up to them bringing that dusty sample that no one's ever been able to get any data on.
I bet you can't do that one, yeah.
But you can't do this one. It's very much around this. Look at the amazing things that you could do. Why don't you go inside your business and see if you can raise money for this?
You're nodding, Christian, yeah? You agree with that?
Yes, I remember colleagues selling analytical balances, using that a lot when a new balance was brought out that had like a hands-free door opening.
I remember it.
And
well,
of course,
Christian,
if you work in a lab with gloves, and this is really a game changer because you don't have to touch the button anymore, no contamination, and so that was used a lot to kind of show the attractiveness of the new product and create the demand, if you want, make the customers plan the replacement of the old balances. So I fully agree with Pru. That is a second type of demo, a demand creation type, but it only really works if you have something new and impressive to show. I think that would be my prerequisite for doing that.
I well remember the time that product was launched, Christian, because you and I were working for the same company at the time. And I remember there was a video of a mouse running around a lab, and the mouse ran into this balance chamber and the doors closed automatically. We all went, "Whoa, wow, that's incredible." So that kind of takes me on to what is the theme often of these podcasts moving forward, and that's AI. So is a role here, do you think, for AI to take away the need for physical demos? Could we see the scenario where we don't have to lug a piece of equipment around or fly a customer in from another part of Europe into a demonstration lab, all that cost? Is there something that we could replace with AI? I just popped into my head. There may not be, but I just wondered if you see any role there. Or are we still using videos?
Not so much AI, perhaps, but VR, virtual reality.
Yeah.
And I mean, during COVID, at that time, I was still working as a head of sales for a company. And we installed a studio where we could do virtual demos. And this can be still a very efficient way of doing a demo. I don't think it's quite the same because it lacks the tactile bit. When I did demos, I always asked the customers to touch the buttons or the touch screen now and, make them load the sample and so on.
Yeah.
And this you can't do with a virtual demo. But I think it is a very cost-effective way of showing your product in a better way than just with a video.
Yeah. I guess there's a difference between buying a camera online or going into a camera shop and picking the camera up and holding it. That's what we're both photographers, Christian. Yeah. Do you see a role for technology here, or are we still doing the things that we've always done?
I think that we have to be, like any business that wants to be successful, we have to be open to what is going to work for the customer and not what's going to work for us. And I think that there will be some customers and businesses who are very comfortable with doing things that way, whether it's through virtual reality, whether it's through remote kind of interaction with it, and some who just want to get their hands on stuff.
Yeah.
And, it's not about what we like. I think it's about what's going to work for them.
Completely.
And we have to be constantly able to establish and ask and inquire and be curious about what does the customer need in order to move to the next step with us, to move forward, and be prepared not to go, this is our way of doing it.
Mm.
I mean, I remember in my early sales career, it's astonishing that I can remember, but I can. We were kind of measured on the number of demos we had. It was
Me too.
like a KPI. We didn't call them KPIs in those days, but it was a you had to get so many demos a month. And so we used to just go out and sell demos.
Yeah.
Which, looking back, was crazy.
I think businesses still do that, Pru, to be honest. I've had conversations.
You?
Yeah, I think businesses still do. I think they think the customer's going to go, oh my God, where do I sign? And
it's amazing.
It is. Life isn't like that, is it really? No.
No.
Yeah.
So I think, we're not selling demos. We're trying to sell solutions to the customers, and the
Correct.
demo may or may not form part of it. So if the customer is satisfied, or their way of doing the evaluation and their openness to do it, we can give them an option of how we allow them, then I think we're resonating better with customers. So
Great
I think
points.
we have to offer traditional stuff, like for people who do want their hands on. I know people look at me and they're crazy. They think I'm crazy because I think most of the cars
Surely not, Pru.
I don't do test drives in cars. I just can't be bothered. And I will actually get a car, and I've never driven it. And lots of people go, "What do you mean you've never driven it?" I go, "I just don't have time. I'm not interested." It's not that I don't have time. I'm not interested enough. So I am very happy to order a car or to get a car based on what I've read and looked at, because I think they're roughly all the same.
I think you're
Whereas
right.
other people would go, no, I definitely have to sit in it and do this. So you have to be able to satisfy these extremes, I think, in terms of your offering of how you demonstrate what you can do for a customer.
Customer preference. Yeah, good point. Yeah,
all the time.
So
I'd like to maybe
go ahead. Yeah.
Come back to how we do a demo. And I believe if you have to do a demo or want to do a demo, then preparation is extremely important. And I don't mean just preparing the instrument and the chemicals and that of course is a non-brainer. That has to be right. But I think we need to prepare to understand what is it this customer is looking for, and what aspects of my instrument do I want to point out. Is it a customer who is concerned about chemical consumption, wastage, waste management, environmental safety, etc.? Then I talk about solvent recycling. I talk about exhaust fume handling. I talk about operator protection, things like that. If it's a customer that's more interested in throughput, in productivity, in high speed, then I talk about that. Then I make my analysis to be very, very fast, maybe a little bit less accurate, but it has to be very fast. So the customer is impressed about the speed. If it's a customer who is really concerned about accuracy, I need to make sure that I fulfill this accuracy requirement. And I remember one of my very first demos was silver determination for a Romanian mint. And they wanted 995 plus minus 3 carat. So 99.5 plus minus 0.3. So it was extremely difficult to achieve. And I prepared for about a week before I knew how to prepare the sample to actually get to that accuracy. You have to have the right balance. You have to have you need to wash your silver sample with acetone beforehand, and so on. So it's really challenging. But this was crucial for this customer, and we did it, and they bought. So preparation, I think, is very, very important. Sorry, I spoke too long.
No, not at all. It's fascinating because it's real examples. It's real life. So I wanted to go into the area of preparation because we talked about that on our last podcast about preparing for a call, but I think preparing for the demonstration is super important as well. And as you rightly said, Christian, and preparing the instrument or the application for what the customer wants to see and not showing what the customer doesn't want to see it should be obvious, but often it isn't.
Yeah. No.
But what other things do we need to prepare, Pru?
I think that it reminded me, I had a moment at one of the companies I was at where I was forced to become the application chemist because I was in the sales team and our application chemist left the business. And we looked around at the demos that were lined up, and the only person who'd actually run one of these instruments was me. So I became the de facto application chemist, and it really made me think differently about how to prepare. And we had a pretty complex system with all sorts of pre-analytics on it. And I think it's to prepare. I think what you need to prepare is how you're going to wow the customer. I think that's what you need to prepare. It's that the customer is likely to have been on a journey of seeing a number of different solutions from different vendors. And I'm sorry, listener, but actually they will sometimes confuse what they saw where. They really do. I've seen evidence of that, where they've seen so many things, they don't have that familiarity. So they think they saw this particular functionality or performance at someone else. So customers do get confused. So for me, the preparation is around, what's my wow moment going to be? What's going to really amaze the customer? We used to have an applications guy when I worked somewhere, and we sold infrared instruments. And what he used to do was to prove just how stable the framework that our infrared was built on. While he was scanning it, he used to jump up and down on it, and he wasn't a small guy. So he literally used to put it on the floor.
I'd buy it.
Jump up. And, and it just proved, because infrared is very susceptible to vibration and stuff when you're measuring. Amazing. So, because the interferometer goes all over the place. So he used to just jump up and down on it, and that was always the wow moment. And they would never confuse that with anybody else that they saw. So I think, for me, what you prepare is that thing that's going to impress and be memorable for the right reasons.
Christian, did you ever used to jump on your instruments when you were doing demonstrations?
We used to pour. One trick we did was pour water over it, actually. A near infrared spectrometer that went into process or operations environments, and it was fully waterproof. You could hose it down, which of course is important if you have it in an abattoir, for example, or in a food production site. And so when we did the demo with the customer, we would pour a jug of water over it. Totally unexpected, and that's also something the customer never forgets. So you can do these things, and I agree with you. The wow moment is important. It's, however, important that the wow moment is adjusted to the particular customer.
Yeah, great point. Can I just put a disclaimer in there before we go any further? If you go and tip water over your instrument or jump up and down on it in a demonstration and you break it, we're not liable, okay? Just it's at your own risk, guys.
But yeah, you're right, Christian. And when I did this short stint as the application chemist, I kind of had time to sit back, and I remember preparing for two very different demos. One was for somebody who was working in a highly regulated environment, in an environmental space, and they just would do the same thing day after day. It was a water lab. And basically, I set the whole complex system up so that when we walked into the demo, it was ready to go. So the customer just pressed one button, and the autosampler started working, doing the calibration and doing the samples, because in their lab, that's what was going to happen on a daily basis.
Yeah, great point.
So they saw what it was going to feel like when they bought it. And then another demo with exactly the same system, but it was a research area. And what they wanted to see was just how much, you always get those people, and however brilliant the software that drives your instrument is, they want to do something different.
Yeah.
They want to be able to amend and customize everything that you show them. So, we did the demo very differently, or I set it up very differently when we built from the base up and showed them just how much input they could have into the way they ran their experiment. So you can have exactly the same setup and show it in very different ways, which is relevant to that customer.
Super
and not
important.
go, this is the way we always do the demo.
No, super important points, really. So when we talked about demonstrations on a previous show, a couple of series ago now, there was a few things that came up, and I just want to revisit a couple of those in case people haven't heard that one. And Christian, you alluded to this, I think, earlier, but when the customer's effectively going around looking at everybody, looking at you, looking at the competition, I know a game that people play at some time is let's get the last demo. oh, the customer's going to see the competition next week. Okay, let's tell them that the instrument's broken or the demonstration chemist is ill so we can get the last demo. I mean, I'm being slightly facetious, of course, yeah. But does it matter, really? Does it really matter whether you are the last person to do the demonstration?
I don't think so.
If you're desperate.
Well, let's talk about it. So why don't you think so, Christian?
So, look, I think customers are looking at multiple vendors, have to look at multiple vendors, and they eventually develop a preference. And of course, what we have to do is we try and have to encourage them that the preference is us. So how do we do that? By listening and understanding well what it is they're doing. That's absolute key. The better we know what they're doing, the better we understand what their challenges are, the better we comprehend what keeps them up at night and what makes them worry, what makes them angry with the current solution, the better we can then position our instrument and they feel heard. You know, I think many people don't feel heard enough in this world. And if you're a lab tech in a big whatever multinational pharmaceutical company, you normally don't feel heard so much. So if we can actually truly listen and truly understand what drives them, I think we can swing the balance in our favor, no matter whether we're first or last.
Yeah. Agree with that, Pru?
Yeah, absolutely. You know how passionate I am about active listening and how it's so important. It's our biggest differentiator. And whatever part of your sales engagement with customers, the demo is often the time when you spend a lot of time with a customer, more than you probably do for anything else. So your ability to show that you've listened, and I spoke earlier about the fact is, have you got them to say that I do accept that if it works like this, I'd be happy to go ahead with you.
Great point.
I think it's really important. And, if you say, I used to play the game. I mean, I'm a bit embarrassed to say, but I did used to play the game of trying to get the last demo.
Yeah.
Because we were sort of almost forced to, actually. But, if you said the instrument's broken down, well, that's not great, is it? Because it's going, hey, my instrument's a bit unreliable. If you're saying, your applications person has more time off than anybody else because they're always ill or can't make it, it's also kind of saying, if you want some help from our technical expert, they're sick all the time. Yeah, good luck. You can really actually undermine being an organisation they want to have a long-term relationship with.
Completely.
I mean, the biggest sin is trying to get a demo because you haven't done a good sales job. So we go for demos early as big convincers. So we think, this is not going well. If I get them in for a demo, I can turn it around. Yeah. Demos are never about turning around.
No.
It just doesn't work that way, I think. And that's, I think, where you get the timing wrong.
That's a great point. Yeah, I mean, you can flip it the wrong way if you do it badly, of course. It can flip it towards the competition. But, it's not about sort of, having a sort of complete conversion or change of heart.
A moment.
No, it doesn't work that way. Back to this timing thing, one of the things I used to encourage my teams to do was, and this matters wherever we are in the pecking order in terms of number of, first, last, middle, whatever of the demonstration, is we always need to agree on what happens next in the demonstration anyway. If it's, yes, they're going to go ahead and order it, great, but if they're going to look at somebody else, we need a reason to go back, and it could be to present a demonstration report or, run some samples and present the data, a reason to get back in again, because what we don't want, obviously, is for the competition to demonstrate after us and then close it. And then we've lost the sale. So a reason perhaps to go back, or agreed with you and the customer to follow up the demonstration. So,
and I think to be honest about that as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Say, look, I appreciate that we've been trying to fit all of your evaluations in with, who else you're looking at and us, because if we've qualified, we know who else they're looking at. And it's just going, what I want to make sure is that we can't show you complete capability at any event. So let's book some time after you've seen the other things, because I just, I really want an opportunity to have a discussion about something you've seen, which maybe we haven't had a chance to show you or talk through. just say why you want to do it. Don't be too over smart here. They know you're in sales. They know you'd like to win the deal. We don't have to be that kind of standoffish about what we're trying to achieve. I quite like almost, a bit of, a bit of boldness about it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. So one final thought from both of you about demonstrations, the demo, why the demo isn't the sale, and any good hints and tips?
So I have a story to tell.
Oh, go on. We love stories. Yeah, go on.
So the best demo I ever did was for a lubricants company in the south of England, and they wanted to buy an instrument for total acid number, total base number determination.
Oh, that takes me back. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And this is a complicated analysis, actually. It's a challenging method, challenging for instrument, but also challenging for applications chemist. I was the applications chemist at the time. I prepared really well. Everything was spot on. We set the instrument up. We got the samples from the customer. We ran them. The results were absolutely perfect. Best precision ever. Fully in line with the instruments they had. All the instruments they already had were from our main competitor. And we were left on a very happy note. The sales rep said, yeah, we'll be in touch, and the customer thanked us for the great demo. And we thought we're going to win this. And then after that, it took about 3 months. We never heard back from the customer. He wouldn't answer our telephone calls. He wouldn't answer our faxes. At the time, there was no email for the younger listeners. That's how old I am. No way of hearing from that customer. Eventually, we heard back and we heard that they bought again from our direct competitor just because they already had so many instruments from them. And the demo we did made bugger all difference. Excuse my French.
That's okay.
Even though it was absolutely perfect, it didn't achieve what we wanted to achieve. It didn't change the customer's preference for our main competitor. And my learning from that is think twice before you do a demo. Really understand whether you have a proper chance, or is it just the way of the customer to try and fend you off.
Great point. Pru, have you got a...
Yeah, I think for me, I'm going to be controversial and say the demo can be the sale.
Okay, great.
Because, I think one of the things I think is if you have got a customer present at a demo and you're the salesperson, you should be present.
You always should.
I have seen so many times when the salesperson has introduced the customer into the environment, whether it's virtual or whether it's in person, and then is not physically present. Absolutely. So if you have got the demo set up, you've got the customer and the decision makers and all those important things there, don't please, as a salesperson, not be present. It can be your best opportunity to close the deal. It's not always, but it could be. So be present.
You and I used to work for the same company, Pru, and I remember being responsible for that site, it's in the south of England, begins with H, and actually going upstairs and dragging salespeople down to the demonstration because they've gone up, they left the demonstration specialist running the demonstration, and the salesperson's gone upstairs and started writing emails. No, you should be there. For much as anything, they're there to help if something goes wrong, to give the customer, the applications person, time to regroup, go and take the customer for a coffee or a tour of the site or something. But also, as you say, it's their job to manage the sell. It's not just the applications person. Yeah.
If you believe the demo is important, you need to be present. And, it's unforgivable not to be present. So
no, I agree.
The demo isn't a sell, but it could be.
Exactly. Yeah. Great point.
I agree with that statement, Pru.
So we're all aligned on that one. So yeah, great thoughts, Christian. Pru, thanks again for your time, both of you today. If you've enjoyed today's episode, dear listener, then don't forget to follow us on your favourite podcast app. And if you use Apple or Spotify, then you can also give us a review, and we'd love a 5-star review, of course. If you'd like any questions to the show, give us any feedback, any comments, any thoughts, suggestions for other topics, then you can email us. It's just podcast@georgejames-training.com. That's podcast@georgejames-training.com. There is also a LinkedIn group now for the show where we will be putting more content in there, sharing some thoughts, sharing some video clips from the show. And it's also a great place to ask questions or just generally hang out with people who listen to the show and share some thoughts or like-minded ideas as well. I'll be back again with 2 more of my colleagues in a couple of weeks' time. Until then, happy selling, and we'll talk to you soon.